Once upon a time, there was a ruler who lived in a grand palace with his wife. They were both advanced in age, but they had no children. The ruler and his wife prayed earnestly to God, asking for a child. Their prayers were answered, and God blessed them with a beautiful daughter. When the little girl was born, the ruler held a grand celebration and invited 7 fairies to the event. Each fairy brought a gift for the newborn and made a wish for her. One fairy wished that when the little girl grew up, she would be the best in the world. Another wished that all her actions would be good. A third wished that she would succeed in everything she did, and so on, each making a special wish. As the 7th fairy was about to make her wish, something strange happened. An ugly, wicked witch suddenly appeared in the room and said, "Why was I not invited to your daughter's birthday celebration?" Everyone was terrified and remained silent. The witch continued, "Since you did not invite me, I wish that when your daughter turns 16, she will prick her finger on a spinning wheel and die." With a wicked laugh, the witch disappeared. Her laughter was so loud that everyone in the palace trembled with fear, but none were as distressed as the little girl's mother. When the ruler heard about the witch's visit, he called his soldiers and with his swords in hand went to battle the witch. The witch fought back with a strange mace, but since the ruler's soldiers were many, she was forced to flee. As she ran away, she shouted, "I will curse your daughter." The ruler's wife wept bitterly and held her little daughter close, while everyone tried to comfort her, but she could not be consoled. The small fairies gathered around the ruler's wife to comfort her. One of the fairies said, "Do not worry, I haven't made my wish yet. And now I can make it." The ruler's wife asked, "Can you break that wicked witch's curse?" The fairy replied, "Oh no, I cannot break her curse, but I can wish that when your daughter pricks her finger on the spinning wheel, she will not die, but only fall into a deep sleep, from which she will eventually be awakened by someone." This calmed the ruler's wife, and she no longer wept. The ruler, still upset by the witch's curse, ordered that every spinning wheel in the kingdom be destroyed, so that his precious daughter would never come into contact with one and risk her life. The ruler's soldiers searched high and low, gathering all the spinning wheels they could find, and they burned them in a great fire in the town square. The ruler believed that with no spinning wheels left, his daughter would be safe. He was content and happy. Years passed, and the little girl grew into a beautiful young woman. The entire kingdom had forgotten the witch's terrible curse. One day, on the girl's 16th birthday, a celebration was held in her honor. After the festivities, the young girl went for a walk. She wandered through the palace grounds until she came upon a tower in a secluded corner. She climbed the spiral staircase to the top, where she found an old woman spinning thread with a spinning wheel. When the girl approached, the old woman said, "Would you like to try?" The girl, excited and curious, having never seen a spinning wheel before, agreed eagerly. Yes, I would love to spin," she said. The old woman stepped aside, and the girl sat down, thrilled to try it herself. But the moment she touched the wheel, her hand got caught, and no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't pull it free. Her hand began to burn with pain. The girl screamed for help. In that very moment, the old woman transformed into the ugly witch, who let out a triumphant, wicked laugh. She had fulfilled her curse. The girl's hand was trapped in the spinning wheel. However, because of the small fairy's wish, the girl did not die, but fell into a deep sleep instead. The ruler and his wife waited anxiously for their daughter to return. And when she did not, they became worried and searched the palace. They soon discovered that the witch had cursed their daughter, causing her to fall into a deep sleep. Their hearts were filled with sorrow and grief. Eventually, they found the girl in the tower's staircase, fast asleep. At that moment, the small fairy appeared and said, "Do not worry, your daughter is not dead." The ruler replied, "What a strange sleep this is! 100 years could pass before she awakens. Do you realize that when she wakes up, we might be old or even dead?" The small fairy thought for a moment and then said, There is something that can be done." The ruler asked, "What is it?" The fairy replied, "I can put you all and all your servants to sleep as well, so that 100 years from now, when your daughter wakes up, she won't be alone. You will all wake up together and continue living happily." The ruler agreed to the fairy's plan, and she put everyone in the palace to sleep. Life in the ruler's palace came to a halt, and the gardens became overgrown with the weeds that eventually covered the walls. No one dared approach the palace, as they believed a fearsome dragon lived there and had destroyed everyone inside. Many years later, a young knight arrived in that town. When he saw the palace, overgrown with thorny bushes, he asked an old man about it. The old man replied, "About 50 years ago, my father heard from his grandmother that a ruler once lived there, and his daughter fell into a deep sleep due to a curse. After that, no one knows what happened." The young knight, intrigued, decided to investigate. Sword in hand, he made his way towards the palace, but as he approached, he found the palace completely engulfed by the thorny bushes, which grew back as soon as he cut them down. The knight said in astonishment, "What strange plants! I've never seen anything like them." At that moment, the small fairy appeared and handed the knight a magical sword, saying, "This sword will help you cut through the bushes." With this new sword, the knight was able to clear a path and enter the palace, but as soon as he stepped inside, a fierce dragon blocked his way, spewing fire from its mouth. The knight charged at the dragon, aiming to cut off its head, but the dragon unleashed a torrent of flames. The knight shielded himself and continued the fight. The dragon, seeing that its flames had no effect and that the knight was still standing, grew enraged and flew towards him in a final attack. But the brave knight, with great courage, threw his sword at the dragon. The sword, sharp and powerful, struck the dragon's neck, and the mighty beast crashed to the ground. The knight, victorious, let out a triumphant shout. The dragon was dead, and with its death, all the thorny bushes disappeared, and the palace garden was filled with flowers once more. The grass turned green, and the stone planters bloomed with beautiful blossoms. At that moment, the small fairy appeared beside the knight again. She said, "You must wake the ruler immediately." The knight hurried to the ruler's chambers and woke him. The ruler, as if he had only been asleep for an hour, stretched and yawned, then asked, "Who are you?" The ruler got up and first woke his wife, then went to the daughter's bedside and woke her too. Soon everyone in the palace woke up, and life returned to the palace once more. They all realized that it was this brave young knight who had saved them. The ruler and his wife, impressed by the knight's courage, offered him their daughter's hand in marriage. The knight accepted, overjoyed, and he and the ruler's daughter were married, living happily together for many years.